Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. Let us discuss Impact Wrestling from what was this? February the 24th, 2022. All right, so there really are no news and notes about Impact, not that I can think of. Impact, I think they lost a couple of wrestlers over the last several weeks. I think it might have been Larry D, Rachel Ellering, and a bunch of other people that don't matter. But other than that, not much is going on the news and notes circuit. So let's get right into the Eddie Edwards explanation of why he did what he did and how the crowd basically agreed with him up to a point. All right, so the cold open to the show was this slow moving image of Eddie Edwards rubbing his hands together and all this kind of stuff. And we hear the voices of the various members of Team Impact talking about how Eddie Edwards is a traitor, how he was the heart and soul of Impact Wrestling, and then he had turned his back on them. They showed clips of Eddie Edwards winning the world title, becoming tag team champion, pretty much everything he did in Impact. And I think it was very effective for setting the stage for what they plan to do later that night. So this was a good start. So what ends up happening is Honor No More shows up. They show up late. Scott D'Amore decides to get in their grill about them showing up late, but now they work there. So Eddie Edwards does not show up, but he said he will be there later because Eddie Edwards doesn't trust the locker room. He doesn't trust that locker room anymore. Scott D'Amore has told Team Impact they cannot touch Eddie Edwards because he wants to know why Eddie Edwards did what he did. So he doesn't want them touching Eddie Edwards. But he did pick a match for Sacrifice, which will be in like a week or so. So we got, I think it's Eddie Edwards versus Rhino. So after the main event, Matt Taven, Kenny King, and Mike Bennett defeated Rich Swann, Willie Mack, and Chris Sabin. Of course they did. Why wouldn't they? So after the match, Maria Kanellis, she invited Eddie Edwards to the ring. So Eddie Edwards comes to the ring to explain why he did what he did. Rich Swann immediately gets in his face. He kind of, he doesn't touch him, but he got in his face. Eddie Edwards was basically kind of like, okay, whatever. And then Scott D'Amore had to force Team Impact to go to the back, tell Team Impact to get out of here. They got to get out of here. Let the man talk. Let the man express himself. So this is what he had to say. He said that he came up with all of these guys in Honor No More. He knows them all personally. He knows them all intimately. And he felt betrayed by the Ring of Honor hiatus because it felt like it was sweeping all of the blood, the sweat, and the tears he gave to that company, swept it under the rug. But that's not why he joined them. Then he says that Honor No More noticed a corruption and dishonor in this business, that they have put their fingers on the pulse of this thing. They know that there's something going on underneath this business, and said that he joined them to expose the corruption of Impact. Then he laid out the corruption of Impact, which I thought was very good. He says Scott D'Amore kind of allowed all this Forbidden Door stuff after the pandemic because, Impact had to change with the times, and he thought it was the right thing. He supported Impact doing the Forbidden Door. Then he said Rich Swann let us all down by losing the world title to Kenny Omega. And Impact management allowed it to happen and then left the locker room to fix the issue. That the locker room had to now win the world title back. Then he says Sami Callihan lost. Moose lost. He was the only one that beat Kenny Omega during that time. And said, I sat back and waited for Impact management to give me the opportunity to win back the Impact World title, and they didn't do it. Now, of course, he had to smudge some history here because Kenny Omega lost the belt to Christian, right? He didn't lose it to an Impact guy. He lost it to Christian. And he says, when it came time to finally get the belt back, Impact management chose Josh Alexander, who no longer works there, by the way. And he says that he realized at that point that Impact management had no honor and Impact Management had no faith in him. And if you think he was the heart and soul of Impact, then Impact Management ripped out the heart and soul of Impact. And the crowd was clapping. The crowd was clapping because they knew this was true, right? All of this stuff was true. Impact did allow Kenny Omega to run rampant with the Impact World title. Well, Scott D'Amore and all of them, they just let it happen. Then they sent all these J-Brons like Rich Swann after him. Didn't work out. I do faintly remember Kenny Omega losing a 6-man tag or something like that when to Eddie Edwards. And he never got a shot for it. Okay. And then when it came time to wrestle for the world title, and Christian had it, it wasn't given to Eddie Edwards. It was given to Josh Alexander. But Josh Alexander utilized option C, giving up the X Division title. So that was how he got his shot. But basically he was saying Impact Management is at fault. And you have to think about it. It's very true. So how did he become a heel in all of this? Well, he flipped it by saying the crowd was happy about it. You know, that I didn't get a shot and you guys were happy about it. The crowd. You guys were happy for Josh Alexander. You guys were happy that other people were stepping up to take the spot, not me. And all of this is Scott D'Amore and Gail Kim's fault. And I thought it was very effective. I thought this was very effective. And it almost seems like this was the logical end of that story of the whole Forbidden Door. But you can tell that they really did not plan this. Because if they had, then Josh Alexander would still be the champion. And Eddie Edwards would be on his way to challenging Josh Alexander. That would make more sense. But Moose is the champion. We'll talk about what Moose thinks about this whole ordeal in a minute. And it doesn't really help this storyline. But this was good. I thought this was very strong storytelling from Impact. Very strong storytelling. I thought this was very good. And so then Alicia Edwards comes out there and things went off the rails. Because Alicia Edwards is saying, I can't believe you're not out here apologizing. And it says, you taught me to keep the faith. And that all of those guys, Sami Callihan, Rich Swann, those guys deserved all of their opportunities. And I know you wanted to be the guy who did it, but Josh is the guy who did it. And you need to stop bitching and celebrate with the family. Then Eddie Edwards says, I don't know more as my family. And she was like, what about me? And he was like, that's up to you. You know, essentially. And I thought that was okay. That was okay. But they should have ended the show with Eddie Edwards explaining himself. All the Alicia Edwards stuff should have been moved to next week. That's what I get. Maybe in the future, we're going to go with Eddie Edwards trying to convince Alicia to join him in Honor No More. Maybe. Don't care for that because I don't care about Alicia Edwards. So what we should be doing is having all of these different people, approaching him. And I think Alicia Edwards is the right person to do it first. That's his wife. She works there. She should have been the first one to get in his face at the opening of next week's show to say, I heard, I've been hearing this for a week now. I've been living with this for over a week. Just because we're married doesn't mean I have to agree with everything my husband does. Here's what I think. Then he comes out there. Then they have this discussion because they claim that they had this discussion privately first. But since Eddie Edwards decided to go public with it, she's going to go public with it. I didn't like the idea of she saying you need to stop bitching. But I do like that she says you taught me to keep the faith. In other words, I learned something from you. I would like for you to uphold that standard, which is good for husbands. Husbands lead the household. That's what we're trying to do here. Set that up. And I like all of that. That part is fine. I just don't like that they tacked it on here because it felt extra. It felt really extra. Like we didn't really need that much right here. We just needed the explanation and then to let that sit for a little while. But then they added Alicia Edwards and it went all haywire. But I think his reasoning was very good. It made sense. in the long run that he was a Ring of Honor guy, former Ring of Honor world champion. He does know all of these people. He knows them all intimately. He was there with them for a long time. And it makes sense that maybe they dropped a bug on his ear. Hey, what's up with you not getting the spot? What's up with all this Forbidden Door stuff? With all these guys just coming in and doing whatever they want. We're called invaders when we come in and do whatever we want. Kenny Omega was called, he was welcomed. There was a little bit of smudging on history of that too, because the reason why Kenny Omega was able to come in, they described it during the storyline as it was Don Callis. Even though Tony Khan was also cutting promos at the same time, talking about how he's allowing Kenny Omega to do this. And I think that's the one piece I think that was missing from this story, is when Eddie Edwards was talking about Impact winning the title back and Impact management leaving it to the roster to fix the problem that they created, which is Kenny Omega walking off with the Impact World title. He should have mentioned all of the videos of Tony Khan dissing Impact. He should have said they aired repeatedly Tony Khan dissing this company. They aired it over and over and over again. Every week for like 3 months. Eddie Edwards was dropping not Eddie Edwards, but Tony Khan was dropping videos dissing Impact. And Impact management didn't do anything. They did nothing. In fact, they invited him to their show where Kenny Omega won the world title. And then the title was taken to AEW where it was denigrated and disrespected and treated like a secondary title. And he had all of that ammunition there. I still think they did good, but there's still so much there that they left out. And it says a lot that if you're really going to use that Forbidden Door stuff as a reason for a guy who was a homer to say, fuck this place, I bust my ass for this place and they fucked us over by saying we're not good enough, and then not sending their best guy to take the title back, fuck this company then. It's perfect frustration. Anybody who feels like they were overlooked at their job would relate to this. Why wouldn't you? This is excellent. Excellent stuff. This probably was, oddly enough, I think this might have been the storyline of the week. In terms of things that were built up over time. And this goes back over a year at this point, and we see that Eddie Edwards, even though he wasn't always involved with the Forbidden Door stuff, he was still there. He wasn't injured. He wasn't out, so he was still there. So this is very good. I like this. This is good. All right. So for the rest of the show, Moose, because he wasn't involved with the Forbidden Door stuff, he also was not involved with the Honor No More stuff. Now, he's going to explain why and all this kind of stuff. So, Moose talked about Eddie Edwards. He says, I defeated a titan of this industry, and all you dudes can talk about is Eddie Edwards. I don't care about Eddie Edwards. I don't care about Impact. I don't care about any of this. I don't care about Honor No More. I don't care about any of this crap. He says, I'm the only person that should be acknowledged in this business, and that I made this version of Eddie Edwards possible because I changed people. Then he broke down how he wrestled Matt Cardona, defeated him. Now look at Matt Cardona now. He decided to turn his back on the fans. He beat Josh Alexander, and Josh Alexander up and quit the company. He says, what spiral will Morrissey fall into? We'll talk about that in a second. Because it's not a good one. It's not a good one. So then, as he's talking about how much he doesn't care, Heath comes out there, Heath Slater. And Heath Slater apparently he's going to explain himself too. Because he gets in Moose's face and says, you're the Impact World Champion. You should care more than anybody about the Honor No More stuff and all of the people who are involved with Sane. Moose says he doesn't care. And he says that, well, now is not the time for jokes, not the time for games. You don't want to be a leader. I'll be the leader. I'll challenge you. Take your world title. Moose says, look, you sure this is what you want to do? Because you don't want to go down this dark place, this spiral. And Heath actually does. They get into a little bit of a scrap. I think he hit him like a Russian leg sweep or something like that, and teased the Impact World Championship. Now, Heath apparently missed all of this Honor No More stuff because he had COVID. And so it made sense that he wasn't there. At the same time, though, is he a credible contender for the Impact World title? No. No, he's not. He's not. This is the problem. Why is Moose the champion? They are so weak at the top in Impact. They are so incredibly soft at the top. It is awful. AEW is very top heavy, where they have like 30 guys who could be world champion tomorrow and nobody would argue. WWE, a little bit more thin at the top, but Impact has nothing. There's nobody in Impact who should be a top guy right now. Not one person, not even Moose. He's just the most convenient guy. They're so weak in the main event picture. And when people are talking about Impact's ratings, for starters, you have to realize Access is a garbage channel. All right, that's the first thing. Second thing is there's nothing on Impact. You have to be a wrestling fan to really get into it, you know, because there's nothing that's going to happen on this show that's going to really capture your imagination and become mainstream. And it's almost as if Impact was done correctly, it would be where AEW is, and AEW would be where Impact is, because Impact had all the time in the world to build itself up to be a viable number two wrestling promotion, and it gets cratered, and it cratered numerous times. So now there's a bunch of people who are not even really interested in working for Impact, and now AEW is throwing around so much money. There's really, they can't afford anybody either, and the show's not live. That's another thing. The show's taped, so people know spoilers like well in advance. So there's another reason. There's a bunch of reasons why Impact's ratings are shit. But them being soft in the main event is a really good reason why their ratings are not up. Later, Moose then told Honor No More that he didn't care about them and he didn't mind those guys. But as long as they stayed out of his way and didn't come after his world championship, he was all right with them. You know, do your thing. And Scott D'Amore was pissed about this for some reason. I don't know why he cared. This is where he made the match with Heath official for the title at Sacrifice. I was like, yeah, hooray. Moose versus Heath. Well, that's exactly what we always wanted. Oh, no, that sucks. But of course, this is left out a little bit as well. Guess who else worked in Ring of Honor? Moose did. So you would think that they would use that. Maybe they will. And I think they're probably going to end up nodding that a lot of these guys are from Ring of Honor. And that should be a pretty interesting storyline that they can use later on. All right, so the first match on the show was Jordan Grace versus Matt Cardona in a digital media title match, which was no disqualification. This match was silly, of course. What made it silly is that they started using a bunch of old media in this match. As weapons, they use a DVD player, a keyboard, cassette tapes, very small cell phones. Those were all of the weapons. I think somebody might have used a chair. They didn't use none of the traditional weapons like thumbtacks or chains. It was all old media. So somebody's telling me that they decided to gimmick the hell out of this match. Matt Cardona wins after he rammed Jordan Grace's head into a chair and then a schoolboy roll up while he was holding the ropes. He really, really put her over strong. And probably too strong. He had a bedazzled cup with Always Ready on it. He tried to shove it in her face and she countered it and shoved it in his face. I was kind of done with this match at that point. I really don't need to see Matt Cardona wrestle Jordan Grace ever again. And I'm telling you, that digital media title is an absolute farce. It's not good. All right, so the influence. Tennille Dashwood is back from one of her photo shoots, her vacations. She has more vacation time than anybody. I don't understand how much. I don't understand how she gets so much vacation time. She's gone for months at a time sometimes. Anyway, she comes back and she's upset at what's been going on since she was gone. The Inspiration, the Iconics, for those of you who haven't been paying attention, They are back and they're saying they're going to finally defend their tag team championships against them at Sacrifice. And Madison Rayne shows up. She's upset at Caleb, and the inspiration starts to defend Caleb. And this ends with Cassie. That is the name of Peyton Royce, right? Smacking not Jordan Grace, but Madison Rayne in the face. They get separated again. And then Cassie and Madison Rayne agreed to have a match next week. So Tennille Dashwood is back, and she's back to doing nothing. She didn't do anything in this whole segment. She just kind of stood there. Like, hey, I'm still here. I'm like, wait a minute. All right, so there was a tag team match on Being before the Impact. I'm about to call it Being the Elite. Jesus. Before the Impact, it was Jake something and Trey Miguel versus Speedball Mike Bailey and Ace Austin. And Jake something got pinned, and now he's mad about it. So he was upset that they lost to Ace Austin and Bailey. Trey Miguel says, hey, for the first time we've ever teamed together, we think we did pretty well, even though we lost. And Jake says, look, I'm not looking to be your partner. I'm looking for you to fear me, and I'm going to make you fear me, because I'm not an underdog. Considering he's like 3 times the size of Trey Miguel, he shouldn't be the underdog, but this is Impact, so of course he's the underdog. Everything outside of WWE treats big dudes as if they're some kind of inferior species of person and not what we all know it to be. Like, no matter how good Floyd Mayweather is, he's never going to fight the heavyweight champion of boxing. He's not going to do it. It's stupid. Even though he's faster than he is, he might even be a better boxer than he is. He's not going to fight the heavyweight champion, But anyway, that's just whatever. Now, the tag team match I just told you, Ace Austin and Speedball Mike Bailey versus Jake something and Trey Miguel. That sounds fun, right? I didn't watch it, but it sounds fun. That match was not on this show. What was on this show? John Schuyler versus Bhupinder Gujjar, who was announced with all of the enthusiasm of an enema. Bhupinder Gujjar. Ugh. This is trash. Brian Myers is on commentary. I don't know why. Gujjar wins with a second rope spear, which was actually pretty cool. He looked like a missile. So that was pretty nice. Everything about this was trash, though. Morrissey came out there to confront Brian Myers, who was talking trash about him. He punched John Schuyler because John Schuyler is a job guy. Get him out of the way. John Schuyler then attacked Morrissey from behind. Ends up getting powerbombed through a table so that Brian Myers could escape. It was stupid. Stupid. Macklin, I forgot to mention this because Macklin doesn't care about Eddie Edwards. Doesn't want to hear why Eddie Edwards did what he did. All he wants to know is, will he fight him next week? Because he's a traitor. And traitors have to answer to him. All right, sure. The third match on the show was Deonna Purrazzo versus Lady Frost for the AAA Reina de Reinas Championship, which was defended under the Champ Challenge. So if you haven't been following, Deonna Purrazzo has 2 championships. She has the Ring of Honor Women's title and the AAA Reina de Reinas Championship. She has an open challenge where any woman could come down and challenge for either title. Lady Frost chose the AAA Reina de Reinas title, and she lost via Venus de Milo. Then Giselle Shaw came out there and made fun of Lady Frost for losing. Jay White says he will be facing Alex Shelley at Sacrifice, and this is going to be an emotional match for him because him and Alex Shelley have a long-term, they go back a while, I think. But he says that it's all going to be strictly business. Just like with Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, it was all strictly business. That God no longer reached the standard he is setting for the Bullet Club, and it was time for a change. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows said that the Bullet Club just isn't the Bullet Club without the Good Brothers. This led Violent by Design to show up. And Violent by Design said, okay, look, we had a deal. And when you make a deal with Violent by Design, it is permanent. we get a match for the tag team championships in order for helping them before. And that if you had told us about this whole Bullet Club thing, all of this could have been avoided. Jay White says, look, I don't care what kind of deal you had with these guys. Any deal that you made before this, null and void. We're not accepting any challenges for the tag team titles. And then the Good Brothers says, look, just because we were in business doesn't mean we have to tell you all of our business, and you ain't got nothing to do with this. So Violent by Design looks pretty pissed, and like they're about to fight. Then GOD comes out of nowhere and attacks them. So GOD attacks the Bullet Club, runs them off. They end up standing up toe-to-toe with Violent by Design. And it looks like they're going to tease a little partnership of their own, of GOD joining Violent by Design. And I actually like that. I like that. That seems to be okay. Still more Bullet Club politics. Not a fan of that. Zicky Dice, who absolutely sucks, gets crushed by Jonah via a powerbomb. After the match, Jonah splashed him from the top ropes. Gail Kim told Jonah to stop beating up his opponents after the match. He had to stop doing this. Jonah says, look, if you want me to stop doing it, give me some real competition. So Gail Kim said, you'll be wrestling PCO. And Jonah seemed to be happy about that. I wasn't, because I'm like, PCO? That dude is held together by duct tape and steroids. There's just no way this is going to be an increase in competition. But at the same time, again, Impact is weak. Who cares? In any event, after Jonah walks off, Johnny Swinger shows up for the first time in like a month. Says that he's been training in Swinger's dungeon with Bill Dundee. And he got a bone to pick with Jonah for trying to end his career. And Gail Kim says, okay, well, you can wrestle him next week. To which Johnny Swinger was very excited for that. We weren't done with Fail Gail, as she came back to set up a match, number one contendership match next week. Mickie James went to Gail Kim, saying that Chelsea Green should get the shot at Sacrifice for the women's title. She was going to give it to her, and then Tasha Steelz barged in and said Chelsea Green had not done anything and she needs to earn it. They started to argue, to which Gail Kim said, all right. Gail set up the Tasha Steelz versus Chelsea Green in a number one contenders match. Next week, the winner will face Mickie James at Sacrifice. Mickie James offered to be in Chelsea Green's corner. Chelsea Green said, no, I need to do this myself. So she's going to go it alone against Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evans. All right, okay, fine. This show was, it was all right, I guess. I like the Eddie Edwards story. I'm enjoying the Honor No More stuff. It's still pretty good. It's just the world title scene is very weak, and so is the X division. The singles scene, the women's division is actually pretty good. And now you have two tentpole women, and Mickie James is defending the Knockouts title, doing a very good job. Almost all of her storylines have been been pretty good. And Deonna Purrazzo, they're building up something to happen on her side. So those two titles are doing pretty well. But the X Division title, that digital media belt, and the world title are absolutely the pits. It is absolutely not good. Not good. But this is Impact for you. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Share and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.